यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनतीरवनचारी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय जगन्नाथाय जय बलदेवाय सुभद्रमाय जय सुदर्शनाय। जय गौरांगी बेंगलोरेश्वर जय गौरांगी बेंगलोरेश्वर, गौरांगी बेंगलोरेश्वर जय गौरांगी। जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव, लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव। जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य, निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा। So let's today we will be discussing from this Bhagavatam sloka, Canto 3, Chapter 29, verse number 33. तस्मान्मयि अर्पिताशेष क्रियार्थात्मा निरन्तरः, मयि अर्पितात्मनः पुंसो मयि सन्न्यस्तकर्मणः। न पश्यामि परं भूतम् अकर्तुः समदर्शनात्। Sorry. तस्मान्मयि अर्पिताशेष क्रियार्थात्मा निरन्तरः, मयि अर्पितात्मनः पुंसो मयि सन्न्यस्तकर्मणः। न पश्यामि परं भूतम् अकर्तुः समदर्शनात्। तस्मान्मयि अर्पिताशेष क्रियार्थात्मा निरन्तरः, मयि अर्पितात्मनः पुंसो मयि सन्न्यस्तकर्मणः। न पश्यामि परं भूतम् अकर्तुः समदर्शनात्। Hare Krishna. If one of you or any of you would like to recite, please do that. I hope I am audible at least. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's proceed with word by word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation, word by word meaning. Tasmat, then him, Mai, unto me, Arpita, offered, Asesa, all, Kriya, actions, Artha, wealth, Atma, life, soul, Nirantaraha, without cessation, Mai, unto me, Arpita, offered, Atmanaha, whose mind, Pumsaha, then a person, Mai, unto me, Sanyasta, dedicated, Karmanaha, whose activities, no, not, Pashyami, I see, Param, greater, Bhutam, living entity, or Kartuhu, without proprietorship, Sama, same, Darsanad, whose vision. Translation. Therefore, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine and who therefore engages and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything unto me without cessation. Purport. In this verse, the word Samadarsanat means that he no longer has any separate interest. The devotee's interest and the Supreme Personality of Godhead's interest are one. One second. Yeah. So the devotee's interest and the Supreme Personality of Godhead's interest are one. For example, Lord Chaitanya, in the role of a devotee, also preached the same philosophy. He preached that Krishna is the worshipful Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the interest of his pure devotees is the same as his own. Right? Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers, due to poor fund of knowledge, define the word Samadarsanat to mean that a devotee should see himself as one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is foolishness. When one thinks himself one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no question of serving him. When there is service, there must be a master. Three things must be present for there to be service: the master, the servant, and the service. Here it is clearly stated that he who has dedicated his life, all his activities, his mind and his soul, everything, for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord is considered to be the greatest person. The word akarto means without any sense of proprietorship. Everyone wants to act as the proprietor of his actions so that he can enjoy the result. A devotee, however, has no such desire. He acts because the personality of Godhead wants him to act in a particular way. He has no personal motive. When Lord Chaitanya preached Krishna consciousness, it was not with the purpose that people would call him Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, he preached that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should be worshipped as such. A devotee who is a most confidential servant of the Lord never does anything for his personal account, but does everything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is clearly stated, Mai Sanyasta Karmanaha. The devotee works, but he works for the Supreme. It is also stated, Mai Arpitatmanaha. He gives his mind unto me. These are the qualifications of a devotee who, according to this verse, is accepted as the highest of all human beings. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur-unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroh Shri Yuta Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tang Sachipam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarane हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीन बंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण। So the chapter is entitled Execution of Devotional Service, the explanation of devotional service by Lord Kapila. And in this chapter, means Lord Kapila Dev is building up, like which uh, type of uh, bodies of living entities are better, right? From beginning with all the most inanimate to the highest pure devotee among human beings, right? So he has built up this sequence, and in this order, we should respect the living entities also, right? So we should respect every living entity. We should not disrespect any living entity, but we have to use our sense of discrimination also. Like Srila Prabhupada says, that we have to see that Lord is present in a tiger also, but we cannot embrace the tiger. Similar, so we have to discriminate, right? So how to practically deal with different grades of living entities and different grades of like human beings among living entities, right? So Lord actually, in this chapter, he also mentioned, when Mother Devhuti asked in the beginning, then what sort of devotional service is best, like details about devotional service, and what is best, easiest for her, this kind of things, right? These kind of questions. So then Lord actually, says that Bhakti Yoga is one, but according to the modes of material nature, the performer or executioner of devotional service is in. Accordingly, the symptoms, during the performance of devotional service, the symptoms will be different. So Lord actually, mentioned about devotional service unto the Lord when it is being carried out by a person who is prominently in the mode of ignorance. It cannot be, someone cannot be pure ignorance and no rajogun and no tamagun. It's not like possible. Some goodness will be there. So if someone has, someone is suffering more from ignorance, then if he or she actually starts devotional service, some symptoms are there, right? One might be quarrelsome, and having separate, separate feeling of separatism, all that, right? So that actually started in the beginning of this chapter. And then, the interesting thing, let me open those verses and let's see, actually, that's very important. Why? I will tell you. So why is it important to look at those verses? Here, see, it is mentioned in this verse, Lord is particularly talking about pure devotional service, a person who is a pure devotee, right? I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine. So no interest outside of mine, right? So I want to focus on this aspect first. So in this context, let's revisit, how a pure devotional service is uh, different from others, right? Especially in this matter. So let's see. Let me copy this. I think it's 8 or what, or 9 or 10 or 11. Yeah, 8. So here, see, अभिसंधाय यो हिंसांग दंभंग मात्सर्यमेव वा सनडम भी भिन्न दृग्भावम, right? So here we have a bhinna. Okay, let me do one thing that will be better. Let me open it in advanced view and we can see nicely some of the things. Okay, this is English class. Let's retain this. Yeah. So अभिसंधाय यो हिंसांग दंभंग मात्सर्यमेव वा सनडम भी भिन्न दृग्भावम. This is what I want to basically so as a contrast to what Lord is talking in verse number 33. So this is verse number 8, and here let's see what is the meaning. Bhinna drigbhava, right? Separate vision, whose vision is separate, right? Translation. And who is a separatist? This separatist doesn't mean, in a traditional or political sense, but whose goals are very different than what Lord wants, right? So like that. So now let's see the symptoms of related this relevant, related symptom of a devotee or a person who is executing devotional service, but who is prominently in the mode of passion, right? Let's see here. विषयान् अभिसन्धाय यस ऐश्वर्यमेव वा अर्चादाव अर्चयेद यो मां पृथक भाव सराजसः. So this separate vision is still retained here. This mode of passion is definitely better than mode of ignorance, right? So like indolence, sleep, those things are not there. Food habits are better, but still what is mentioned here, prathak bhava is mentioned, it is retained, it is still coming along all here, right? Prathak bhava, separatist, right? See, by separatist. So now let's see the, now we might assume that a person who is in the mode of goodness, that might be free from this. No. So let's see here, 10th, the next verse. Karma nirharam uddisya parasmin va tadarpanam yajeda yashtavyam iti va prathak bhava sasatvikaha. So this is these are the symptoms of a person who is executing devotional service, and that person is situated in the mode of goodness, prominently in the mode of goodness. Devotional service is not in the mode of goodness or passion or ignorance. Devotional service is always one and transcendental, but when it is executed by persons, dominated by a particular mode of nature, then that person shows these symptoms, right? So prathak bhava sasatvikaha. Let's see here again, right? Separatist. So see, it's very interesting. When a devotee perceives the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offers the results of his activities in order to free himself. So his goal is not to, his goal is not only to please the Lord, but some other stuffs, right? So his devotion is in the mode of goodness. But still he has this, right? Prathak bhava satvika. It's not as it is verbatim translated, but point is, he has different goal, right? He just wants to get freedom from the fruitive activity, freedom from the inebrities of fruitive activity. Yeah. Now actually if you go to pure devotional service, which this is described here based on some symptoms, that as soon as one hears the basically holy name, form, qualities, his pastimes, all these things, Nam, Roop, Gun, Leela, etc. of the Lord, immediately his heart or her heart gets attracted by hearing such descriptions of the Lord, right? Madguna Sruti Matrena, Mai Sarvaguhase, Manogatira Vichenna, Yatha Gangam Bhaso Ambudho. As the water of Ganges, it flows uninterrupted, right? Towards ocean. Similarly, without interruption or without so overcoming impediments, such devotees' hearts, they are pulled towards hearing the Lord's pastimes and descriptions of the Lord, right? So this is what is mentioned. Lakshanam bhakti yogasya nirgunasya. Nirgunasya means above the modes of nature, right? Yeah. Yeah, unadulterated means not adulterated with the mode of nature. Nirgunasya hi udahartam ahetuki avavihita ya bhakti purushottame. This is the pure devotional service. So here you don't see any prathak bhava. So this is what it was present in definitely mode of ignorance, mode of passion, as well as mode of goodness. But only when one performs devotional service unadulterated with any mode of nature, then only that it is free from bhinna, like prathak bhava or bhinna bhava, right? Or other way around, actually we can put it other way around, actually more precisely, that when one's goal is nothing except pleasing the Lord, right, for his satisfaction based on his order or his bona fide representative's order, if devotional service is performed, then there will not be any prathak bhava or bhinna drig bhava, right? Then devotee will be one, a devotee will have oneness with the Lord in terms of goals, objectives, right? Mission, right? So as Srila Prabhupada says, always he repeats from beginning from Bhagavad Gita to Bhagavatam to Chaitanya Charitamrita, everywhere that devotional service should be performed under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. Under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. This phrase Srila Prabhupada has maintained almost all along, right? So throughout, from beginning from Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because a bona fide spiritual master, the first qualification is that his only job is to please previous bona fide spiritual masters, Acharya Parampara. That means that all the way up to Brahmaji, whose only goal is to please the Lord, right? So whatever different otherwise pastimes happens, that is for our lesson. we cannot fault find in Lord Brahma. I have seen like some devotees, they comment on Brahmaji as if, we have surpassed Brahmaji. So we should understand that Srila Prabhupada himself uh, is like such a exalted pure devotee, right? A special messenger sent by Lord. So can we comment on Srila Prabhupada that, he committed this mistake, that mistake, or, can we laugh at Srila Prabhupada? We cannot even dare to think like that, because not because of fear, but because he was like a special pure devotee, right? Even among pure devotees, like we don't have sufficient words to glorify Srila Prabhupada's contribution. So if we are talking about Srila Prabhupada like that, can we, joke about Brahmaji? We cannot. In fact, uh, these the six previous sons of Devaki, right, before Lord Krishna and Balram, right? So they were originally, the sons of I think Marichis. Yeah, originally in previous life, and when Brahmaji is like some apparent some mistake happened, they started laughing on Brahmaji. Because of that, they got cursed, and all along they went to like sons or descendants of Hiranyakasipu, then Kalanemi, and then eventually they came here, all that, right? So we cannot even and the thing is, after that mistake, actually Brahmaji gave up his body. So we should retain so many we should always keep in mind some things, uh, that yeah, we cannot comment basically. So yeah, Brahmaji is basically our Brahmaji. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. So definitely, yeah. So I was talking about pure devotional service symptoms, right? So yeah, so it's like if we have oneness in mission, goal, instructions with the Lord, then that bhakti is called pure devotional service. So I'm putting it other way, rather than saying that one who is a pure devotee will have no difference than Lord, right? No different mission than Lord. Yeah, both ways, basically, message is actually same. It's quite symmetric. Yeah. So this I wanted to revisit, that only at the level of pure devotional service, or only when one is not having any separate objective, then you could understand that that devotee is basically has started or doing pure devotional service to the Lord, and he is the topmost among all human beings, right? Among all living entities also, and then eventually even among human beings. So there are several gradations, right? Even recently, like we were discussing earlier, that we should discuss. Lord Chetan Mahaprabhu says that assuming we should understand that every living entity's body is an abode of Lord. So, considering that, we should respect every living entity. Then, actually, he says basically, if someone has accepted Vedic Dharma, right, some principles, right, then we should respect that person more. And then, if someone basically is almost like someone is like a at the Brahmana level, qualified Brahmana, and almost Vaishnava, right? Then, yeah, we should not basically we should give him utmost respect, right? And highest level is a Vaishnava. Then we should serve him or her, right? Not only respect, but we should serve also, right? Like that. So anyway, so we are all discussing about the symptom of pure devotional service. So that person would not have any interest outside of Krishna's desire, right? So there are several examples in this regard. So let's begin with Srila Prabhupada only. So when he presented, Bhagavad Gita, right, and he mentions in the preface itself that what is the need of separate Bhagavad Gita. Then he mentions that almost all previous existing Bhagavad Gita versions, right, they're all, some or other adulteration have been there, like they either suppress the, Krishna's divinity, they consider him as just a historical person, and they bring all the allegory and metaphor saying that, our body is self is, the enemies are internal, or sorry, the when we should offer to Krishna, that means the person within Krishna, all sorts of things, right? So these kind of adulterations were there. Either essentially, if we sum it up, previous editions of Bhagavad Gita were suffering from either Mayavad or Sunyavad, or just making him as a just a historical figure, making Krishna just a historical figure. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, that I have carried out the will of Krishna. Let's see if we can quickly figure out. It's worth looking at that, not verbatim. If we see, that will be really great. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, I think. Okay. Maybe it's somewhere else instead of introduction, but I remember it vividly that he says that, the way he has presented Bhagavad Gita, that actually is like, by doing so, he has carried out the will of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says that actually. Somewhere it's mentioned actually in Bhagavad Gita itself. Okay, fine. So, Srila Prabhupada is one prime example that he presented the Bhagavad Gita not as a verbatim, translation as per very strict Sanskrit grammar. No, he has presented in such a way which would reveal the true intention of Lord Krishna, right? What when he's saying what. So we should know that rather than sticking with a, like a strict Sanskrit grammar, whether it's a Bhagavad Gita, translation, word by word meaning, translation purport, or same for Srimad Bhagavatam, same for Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he has presented that version which is actually revealing to us and which is helpful to us, how to become a practical devotee in a day-to-day life rather than just sentimentally accepting Lord Krishna is God. Not only that, but yeah, there are many other things. That is one. So Srila Prabhupada is one prime example, and there are several others like Srila Prabhupada disciples, right? So one uh, another example of this, like having no separate vision. Actually, before proceeding further, let's establish one thing: what it means to be, one, being one, or having no separate vision than Lord, right? Actually, see, to Srila Prabhupada maybe or to some great previous acharyas, Lord Krishna might have instructed them, directly, or but apart from directly instructing some very qualified Vaishnava acharyas, practically what Krishna does, Krishna actually has made available the bona fide guru for the very same purpose. So how would we know that what is to be done, what I should do in devotional service, right? So Srila Prabhupada mentions in Bhagavatam, first canto itself, that surrendering to Krishna means surrendering to a bona fide spiritual master, right? So if we surrender and if we carry out the instructions of bona fide spiritual master, that means we have the same goal as Krishna, right? Or we have surrendered to Krishna. At least we have surrendered to Krishna, right? Again, there are degrees of surrender, so that's a vast topic. It takes basically, there is like to reach the perfection of surrender. Yeah, means we know anya vilasita sunim jnana karmani navarti, all. So it's basically reject everything which is not favorable. Don't do anything which is not related to Krishna consciousness. All that. So there are degrees of surrender. So that's a different topic, but at high level, so when we receive initiation by spiritual masters in ISKCON, then the first thing which our spiritual master, the two prime, right, two or three prime commitment or promise they take from us. What is that? Actually, chant minimum 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So chanting of minimum 16 rounds of Hare Krishna every day. That is, it's understood that those are sincere rounds, not distraction, full of distractions, right? It is understood. It is not even to be mentioned. Okay, so distraction free chanting, minimum 16 rounds chanting, or more, 16 and more rounds of chanting Hare Krishna mantra. That is one commitment they basically ask us to give, and basically follow four regulatory principles. Again, there are grades of that in the regulatory principle, right? No intoxication, right? So those are clear, and no illicit sex. In that, basically, there are different grades, right? So if we really follow in letter and spirit, right, those things, then and so chanting and following the regulatory principles, and there is one more. They always ask, would we help our respective spiritual masters in further expanding or preaching the movement of Srila Prabhupada, and basically essentially the movement of Rupa Goswami, and hence mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So help in preaching or directly preaching and chanting minimum 16 rounds and following four regulatory principles. at very high level, these three actually comprise kind of everything, right? So Sravanam is always included. They also say like it's understood that we would read Srila Prabhupada's book every day, right? So so these are the instructions, right? Instructions basically given by spiritual master in ISKCON. So it's common, right? So if we do these things, at least these basic things properly, that means that to a degree we have surrendered to Krishna, and our goal is at least somewhat aligned. Somewhat, why I am saying, because there are so many further details. Depends to like what level of enthusiasm and eagerness we have, to take it up further. So there are so many degrees, levels of that. But at least if we are doing this, reading Srila Prabhupada books, following four regulatory principles, and chanting of minimum 16 rounds of Hare Krishna, distraction free. So these are the basic things. Then we can say, yeah, we are aligned somewhat. Now, another example, you know, of Srila Prabhupada's elevated, disciple, His Divine Grace, Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj. So for him, it's allowed by, as per law, that we could call him His Divine Grace publicly. His Divine Grace, Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj. So he was like a special in the sense when Srila Prabhupada instructed him to start a temple in Bhubaneswar in a particular locality that was almost like jungle earlier, right? So he built a hut made of mud and straws or somehow, and that area was infested with mosquitoes and so many things. But what Maharaj said, this place is the best place for me in the whole of three worlds because my spiritual master has told me to be here. It's a simple line, but very deep, right? Very deep line. So many inconveniences. No electricity supply, no running water, nothing. No heating, no cooling, nothing. Full of infested with mosquitoes and other things. But still he says, this place is the best place for me in the whole of three worlds. Because Sambhava, right? Sambhava, what is that? Akarto Samadarsana. And he never suffered from the, proprietorship. When the temple eventually it manifested so nicely, he never actually, even like when it was progressing, he never had the feeling that it is happening because of him. Never. So like that. So great acharyas, right? Great Vaishnava acharyas. So see, pure devotional service. Someone is a pure devotee. This is a practical example of Samadarsanat. Having and so many other disciples, right? Srila Prabhupada used to tell that you get down here during any traveling another from train or the you get down here and start a temple here. So they all carried out, they knew that they are not capable, but because of being empowered by Srila Prabhupada, it would happen, right? And so many places the temples, Krishna temple is sprung up because of that. Yeah, that is some Darsanat example, right? So let's see. Yeah, there is another thing. It's mentioned in our Srimad Bhagavatam. Sincere surrender. Now this happens with a sincere surrender, right? Then only some alignment has happened. Sincere surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is possible by awakening the transcendental sense of service. And this is made possible by association with pure devotees of the Lord. So the point is, everything has a root in, basically everything's root is basically association, right? Sadhu Sangha. So everything, even if it is somewhat getting slackened or other things, for a progressive sadhaka, I'm talking about, not about especially those Vaishnavas who have been sent by Lord. Now, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about sadhakas also. They can also remain aligned or remain on track of Samadarsanat if they remain in Sadhu Sangha, like pure devotees association. Now that association, again, we know it is through Vapu and Vani, right? So personal service, and not that when we do personal service we are bereft of hearing. Of course they get to hear also from their respective spiritual master or whichever sadhu they are serving, right? Sadhu, again, I'm referring typically to ISKCON full, dedicated devotees. So outside we don't know who is what, right? So why to take the risk? They might not be. We don't have a time to experiment with every so called a spiritualist outside the ISKCON. So it is safer to basically look up to sannyasis or gurus, or even very dedicated, full-time dedicated. It could be very senior grihasthas also, or even brahmachari, right? These anyway, grihasthas, one brahmachari, vanprastha, sannyas. These are not mentioned by Lord Kapila in this entire Sankhya Yoga ever, right? 25th chapter was the like 2 3 relevant slokas of this, where Lord mentions the symptoms of sadhu. So he never mentioned the color of the dress. He never mentioned the ashram. He never mentions the gender. So senior Mataji, right? She could be guiding personality for so many Matajis or whoever, depends, right? There are some details. So it can be even less in age. Shukdev Goswami, anyway, that's in Dwapar Yoga. Even we see in ISKCON around some devotees who are very young, but still they are very deep into Krishna consciousness, right? So we can hear from them also. So age, gender, color of the dress or ashram, these have not been mentioned as a qualification of a genuine sadhu, right? But of course, if someone is fully dedicated in the sannyasa ashram, then it is understood that he would have he is surrendered full time, and practically he has assimilated the shastras, and following such a high standard of sadhana. So naturally, if we hear from them, it would work definitely very well. So there is no question about that. But just by seeing the dress of someone, we should not get carried away. So that thing is very important. Why I'm mentioning, we have seen some symptoms that people get overwhelmed just by seeing the dress. But I have seen sometimes the dress is there. I'm not talking about sannyasis, by the way. So please, for myself, I'm just saying. I'm just saying about some others. Just being in a saffron dress, it doesn't mean that they are, they that they are definitely better than even a senior grihastha. It's not guaranteed. So there is we should not be overwhelmed ever by seeing the dress of a devotee or appearance of a devotee. Or essentially, to sum it up, externality should not influence our reception or our receptive attitude, right? Like that. So yeah, Akarto is another, like as I mentioned with example. Srila Prabhupada also never had a sense of proprietorship, even when ISKCON expanded so much. He always, he even said that even a fool could have done it. Of course, no fool could have done it, but he had that attitude. Even a fool could have done all this. Srila Prabhupada said that towards the end. But that's the magnanimity of Srila Prabhupada, and that's the humility of a pure devotee, essentially. Yeah, he was the medium by which, transparent via medium through which Krishna manifested this ISKCON society, and he had that attitude. And even in the early phase, sorry, when Srila Prabhupada met probably Mukund Swami, that time his name was Michael something. So I think he commented, or George Harrison commented, that about Srila Prabhupada. When they met Srila Prabhupada just once, after that they commented to, like, whoever brought them or whoever made them to meet, right? So in presence of that, one of these two, they commented uh, that Swamiji is so much knowledgeable. He has immense knowledge of Vedic uh, system, Vedic, Indian Vedic system, and so much knowledge in Sanskrit also, so much knowledge of scriptures, but his head is not in the sky. हाँ? दिमाग सातवें आसमान में नहीं है, like that. His head is not in the sky, and he is yet so humble. Even like foreigners, right, who were apparently not connected at all with Krishna Bhakti at that time, and even they could observe this, right? That Swamiji is not, arrogant or, puffed up or all these things. So that's the symptom, right? No sense of proprietorship, and neither actually, having some arrogance. Anyway, so yeah. So some other points. Let's see some other examples, right? The devotees showing this example of having no separate goal, right? Arjuna is one prime example. Of course, he is an eternal associate of Krishna, but for us, Krishna put Arjuna in a that particular state of mind, right? That he got overwhelmed and he started asking questions, right? So it is for us, right? So eventually, what Arjuna says towards the end, basically, that nashto moha smrtir labdha tat prasadan maya achyuta sthitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. He says essentially, uh, it's 8.70, sorry, 18.73. We could even see example of that. Yeah, so that will be better to verbatim to see it as it is, rather than me summing up Srila Prabhupada's translation or anything, right? Oh, my dear Krishna, oh infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, right? Free from doubt, gat sandeha, right? And am prepared to act according to your instruction. This is called samadarsanath, right? Whatever Krishna wants, Arjuna is now ready to do it, right? Now the thing is, here uh, Arjuna actually was already at that Sakya level, like eternal associate, but through these instructions now he has actually, now he says that he's free from doubt, right? And what needs to be done? Doubt means not the greatness of Krishna, but doubt means what has to be done, what should be done by Arjuna, right? So he's free from that, right? All that. So this is one prime example. Even uh, slightly, so there is one more thing. By hearing, so he heard from Krishna, right? So hearing, the mind actually gets overall changed or purified, you could say, right? It gets purified by hearing Krishna's instructions or pastimes. That's the power, that's the transcendental power of hearing process, right? Sravanam. So I'm linking it now, all this. When will we also be in a similar mood like Arjuna? When? After hearing the instruction, executing those or accepting those, as well as hearing the pastime. Hearing the pastime, that's the understanding aspect is always there, but just hearing itself is sufficient on its own. I have seen many, or not some devotees, they say after hearing, no, you have to apply. Otherwise, what's the use of hearing? Hearing should result into transformation of the heart. That is very good, very correct. But actually, I asked this specific question once to His Holiness Bhakti Brihad Bhagavad Swami Maharaj, that there are two aspects of hearing, right? Two ways. Like some are just the pastimes. Of course, in pastimes also Acharya bring up instructions, lessons, but there is one directly instructive passages, right? Some instructive passages are there, and some are just pure pastime, that Lord did like that, right? Devotees did like that, all that, right? So isn't that also powerful enough? Then Maharaj said, yes, some are just for a, just hearing will actually change your heart. And that's what Bhagavatam says. Let's see. Actually, see, otherwise, what is the meaning of this thing? The Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, then how is, Srila Prabhupada says, every limb is sufficient in itself, right? Even if Sravanam is done perfectly, it is sufficient to deliver us, right? It will make us perfect in Krishna consciousness, not just deliver us. Now, so let's see what I want. 1.7.7. 177 is famous, right? No, no, sorry. Yeah. यस्यां वे श्रूयमाणायां कृष्णे परमपुरुषे भक्तिरुत्पद्यते पुंसः शोकमोह भयापहा. Simply by giving oral reception. See, it doesn't say that after that you have to force separately endeavor to do something. What is the like one meaning of this? That as soon as we respectfully hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a bona fide source, immediately what will happen? Devotional tendency, right? Feeling for loving devotional service to Krishna sprouts up at once. So it will automatically happen. We should not stress that, hear and then do this also. That will anyway follow up. So that part actually, some devotees, they actually miss out. They think that consciously you have to force yourself or somehow, convince yourself to do something. No, automatically it will sprout up in the heart. That is what Bhagavatam says here. And Srila Prabhupada's, this is Srila Prabhupada's translation. As soon as we give simply oral reception, just by hearing, automatically it will happen. So the point is, just by hearing Krishna's pastimes and instructive words, right? As Srila Prabhupada has actually painstakingly he has brought this to us, right? So hearing such passages, right, from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, that will actually bring us to which level? To the level of Arjuna, slowly, right? Or depends on what speed we are actually, with what intensity we are doing that, right? How regularly we read, how much time we spend, and with what concentration we read or hear. Reading and hearing basically comes under the same category, right? There is no read like Sravanam, there is no reading or something like that. But no, Sravanam means it's either audio message or it's reading the purports and lectures of Srila Prabhupada or hearing, listening to the lectures. So if we keep on hearing and reading those, then we will also be convinced what Arjuna says. We will also be convinced. We will also be free from doubt. A repeated hearing is also very much required. Let's see actually. Yeah. See, this is 11th chapter, right? Bhagavad Gita, right? So very, very, uh, yeah. See what is mentioned here by Srila Prabhupada. That is actual Vedic process, and those who are actually in the Vedic line, we say the Vedic civilization. See what is meant? They hear about Krishna from authority, and by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. This is what. This is it's 11.52. You may note down. We can revise it again and again. Or anyway, I wanted to bring forth this particular point, right? By repeated hearing about him, by him is Krishna, right? Krishna becomes dear. This is the point. Why we need to repeat, right? So, do we ever feel bored? Let's suppose Bali Maharaj pastime or any, Pandavas pastime. If we, during pandemic, Mahabharata and Ramayana were telecast again. Did people feel bored? No, because that topic about Lord is such a special thing that Prabhupada uses the word, we don't feel hackneyed by reading or hearing those things again and again. And by repeated hearing, Krishna will become dear to us. Then we will, and instructive words, of course, we have to put in actually, again, I'm going back. So if we hear Krishna's pastimes with attention, hear or read, definitely we will also be free from doubt. Krishna will become dear to us, and then we will be like, 11, where is that? No, 18.7. Okay, I've changed it. Yeah, fine. So Arjuna says, right? So we will be free from doubt. Krishna, as soon as see someone becomes dear to us, we tend to follow that person's either requests, demands, or whatnot, right? So that's the point here, right? So we uh, discussed about the examples of Srila Prabhupada about having some darsana. Same mission as Lord. Srila Prabhupada's greatest stalwart disciples, many of them are there, right? Including His Divine Grace, Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj, starting temple in Bhubaneswar from very difficult situation, right? And there are many. I cannot converse my own spiritual master, so that's why I'm not taking there. Yeah. So now Arjuna example. Finally, we can see, okay, Ambarish Maharaj also comes, there is a big overlap of Ambarish Maharaj's personality with this Samadarsana. Basically, he's fully surrendered devotee as ninth canto, 4th chapter, 18, 19, 20, like these verses describe, that he used all his engagement in basically Krishna consciousness, right? So then what happens? That interesting thing, if we don't have any, uh, let me share this part, okay? If we, okay, this 9468, let me open that. Yeah, very important to see it directly rather than me trying to summarize Srila Prabhupada's teachings. That is not a good thing as far as possible. We should say it verbatim. Then what Lord Narayana, Lord Vishnu says in the Vaikuntha when Durvasa Muni went even there to be protected by the tap or heat of Sudarsana. Then it is the first time Lord refused someone coming seeking his shelter. But point is, what Lord says, Lord Krishna, sadhavo hridayam mahyam sadhunang hridayam tu aham madanya tena jananti naham tebhyo managapi. Let's see the translation. The pure devotees are always within the core of my heart, right? There is a famous incident. Some devotees, Lord Ramachandra, he mentioned that, you know, no, he had a separate, of course, it's a colloquial, like it's not really verbatim, literally true, but Lord has a separate diary in which Hanumanji's name appears at the top. So he's the topmost, like most dear to Lord, right? So like that. Sorry. See, Lord is, sorry. in Lord's core of heart, pure devotees are there, right? And I am always in the heart of pure devotees, vice versa, right? Both ways. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I also do not know anything but them. So this is the the specialty of pure devotees, right? So as soon as we have the only goal what Lord has, no other goal, then Lord also actually treats us very especially. So that is not a like an inducement, but the point is, yeah, means Lord considers pure devotees non different than him, right? So like that. So even in presence of Lakshmi ji, sometimes Lord Narayana or Lord Vishnu, they say he says that, you know, you pure devotees are more dear to me than even Lakshmi ji, even Brahma ji, even Lord Seva. Of course, Lord Seva is also a pure devotee, Brahma ji is a pure devotee, Lakshmi ji is a pure devotee. But point is, Lord actually considers his pure devotees the most dear. That's the another aspect of this, right? And let's discuss before we end. Let's discuss the topmost example of who has no separate vision than Lord. That is, of course, Vrindavan's the gopis in Vrindavan, especially in the mood of conjugal relationship, right? Madhurya Bhav. So they are like the pinnacle, top example of this, having some darsana. Several examples are there. Several incidents are there. Once, like we might have heard that Lord Krishna told Naradji that he is suffering from headache, and only the dust from a lotus feet of his pure devotees, that only that would cure him. So big, like great, they were actually pure devotees, but they were afraid that it's not good, so they refused to give dust from their lotus feet, right? Other pure devotees. But when Naradji reached Vrindavan, then gopis actually not only gave what was there, like a little bit was there in their lotus feet, but they also put more mud or some other things on their feet, and they actually then collected more and more. Naraji was astonished, asking that, all not afraid that you would be condemned? You might have to go to hell and all that. They said, we don't care. If it actually helps Krishna becoming happy and peaceful, we are ready to even go to hell. So we cannot even imagine. I'm just saying in a plain language. So it's not a justice. I cannot do justice at all. Beyond my wildest dream to do justice even to one pastime of gopis, right? But we can understand that they are ready to even see hell, go there, if by doing something, it basically makes Krishna comfortable. So that's the pinnacle of, and of course Arjuna is no less, in the sense like just next to the gopis actually Pandavas are considered. So Pandavas, like Arjuna, see, he had to kill Bhishma Pitama, right? And so many of his dear ones, right? But he did that, right? So it's no less actually killing his own family members, and that too respectable ones, right? Dronacharya, and of course Dronacharya was killed by Drishtadumna, but still Arjuna knew it will all happen, right? So he was not so much comfortable. But then eventually, when he is free from doubt, then he is ready to do that. Karishya vachanam tava. So again, the lesson, all the lessons of all Bhagavatam sloka, eventually I feel that it is coming back to how we will reach that level by, like, we don't know when we will reach individually, depends on our speed and intensity. But main thing is, again, it's the same thing, Sravanam and Kirtanam, right? So essentially hearing, chanting, and basically hearing Krishna Katha, reading Srila Prabhupada books, right? Sincerely, attentively, all these things, right? So if we do this, then by Lord's grace it will happen, not by our endeavor. So there is another thing. It's not, yeah, Krishna will be happy because he would see as a Paramatma that, yeah, we are carrying out the instructions or advice given by previous acharyas. It's order actually, not even advice. So if we are carrying out the order of previous acharyas with sincerity, then Krishna sees as a Paramatma, okay, we are actually putting regular effort. Yeah, some emergencies we might miss out, I don't know. But again, chanting is never to be missed out unless we are grave, like health is really bad or some family extreme emergency and all that. So that's a different thing. But Krishna also knows, right? He is also considerate. He's not some inanimate, aloof personality. So he knows that, okay, except the exceptions, we are actually, when time permits, except the exceptions, we are always, always serious about carrying out the basic instructions. So like that. So that's all I wanted to say. So I would stop here. If there is any question, you could ask, or we could stop here. Okay, we don't have any questions, so we will stop here. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.